All right, so currently we are at the Memorial Garden of Return, which you can see with the inscription Akwaba to the Memorial Garden of Return. And then when you see this here, it tells you that it used to be the Hero Gardens and has been renovated and converted to Memorial Garden of Return as part of the Year of Return, which happened in Ghana in 2019. So there is a tourism guide here who is going to help us tell us more about this hub, what is there, what is available, what we expected to see as we're gradually entering into the Memorial Garden of Return at Anomabo in the central region. So we'll meet our tour guide and then ask of his name and then ask what we are supposed to expect. Please, what's your name?
Yosin.
Okay. Yosin, my pedi can be able to my account. Some cabrofune okay, I able to me account. Maybe all right. Okay, so Yosin, yeah, the both to Mate. Yosin, so as we are going here, what should we expect?
Okay, as you first said, yeah, you are in Anomabo, a very historic town with famous people coming from this very town who contributed immensely to the growth of both the Gold Coast and Ghana. So over here we have the Heroes Garden, and Heroes Garden portrays three important personalities whose name was very vivid during the Gold Coast time. We have their statues over there. Then when you come to Memorial Garden of Return, as part of the Year of Return program, as launched by the government in 2018, encouraging our brothers and sisters from the diaspora who have found their roots to the Gold Coast, which is Ghana, to come and help rebuild the country. So we have statues also portraying these people as they come to Ghana, standing on the map of Ghana. So these are the things that we are going to.
All right, so they said three major personalities in the history of Ghana. These personalities are here. So let's go find out. Okay, so let's see these personalities we are talking about. But before we go, I see a lot of symbols with its meanings and all that. Let's find out from our tour guide why you've done this, or probably you help us to get the meaning of some of the symbols on the wall.
Okay, we did this one to, encourage the indigenous, because these are some of the symbols found in our clothes. So we put them here to just enlighten people about our culture. And sometimes when we say the Heroes Garden, visitors might think that we have bearable fruits over here. But no, we don't have bearable fruits here. We have the gardens, we have the flowers. But in the gardens, we have the personalities and the Year of Return statues to talk about.
Okay, so what I see here, I see a monument. The monument was actually commissioned by John Agyekum Kufuor, the President of the Republic of Ghana, on February 24th, 2007. Here in Ghana at 50. Is this right?
Yeah, this was about the personalities I talked about the three important personalities that contributed immensely to the growth of the Gold Coast. And that one was outdoored in 2007 and commissioned by our former president, John Agyekum Kufuor, during Ghana at 50 independence celebration.
I see. All right. Now we are heading towards these three major personalities who some way somehow shaped the history of Ghana, the history of Gold Coast before Ghana. We'll find out about that. But when I came, I was getting it a bit twisted. I came to make my own interpretation concerning these statues I see over here. I saw a woman with a bag, a man holding his daughter. And then this looks like a student going to school. So I made my own personal interpretation. I don't know about you. What does these statues mean?
They represent the children of our forefathers who were taken as slaves to the Americas and the Caribbean. And this is what is referred to as the Year of Return program. And all the statues over there represent countries and cities that had slaves from the Gold Coast, which is now Ghana. And for someone in the Caribbean or America or in the diaspora to associate himself to the Gold Coast means that he has, I mean, as we have the Kofi Ama Kwamna Esi. Yeah, especially when you go to Jamaica, they have these names there. So they are akin to the Gold Coast. When you are from a country that plays the Owari Games, that is, you are connected to the Gold Coast. You are from a country that recites the Kokwanense story. That means that probably your ancestor was shipped from the Gold Coast. So these are some major. Especially then when you talk about the Coromantee. I mean the Coromantee heritage, yeah, in the Caribbean. All these are events that link someone to the Gold Coast or Ghana. Yeah, so these people have found their ways to Ghana.
All right, so we're just being told that this actually represents the year of returns. These are descendants of the slaves. So this is showing different continent, different places where you can find traces of the African descendant. Well, you want to say something?
Yeah, so each statue represents, as I said, a country or a city that has slaves from here. As you said, he's not a school. He's not going to school, but we take him to be someone coming from the United States of America, because you know in the America they are gigantic people. So he represents people or slaves or our brothers and sisters in the diaspora in America. And American cities that had slaves from the Gold Coast included New York, Chesapeake, Charleston, Carolina, Boston, Rhode Island, Virgin Island, Georgia, Mississippi, and Virginia, and New Orleans. Almost about 11 cities that are slaves from here.
That was a lot.
Yes, then we talk of Brazil.
This one?
Yes.
This one represents Brazil? Yes. Why?
Because he has a...
Because he has what?
He has this one. Brazilians and the Guyanese usually have this ones.
Oh, the Sakura?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Brazil had almost 4.5 million slaves from the coast.
Okay.
To Rio de Janeiro, Rio de la Plaza, Pernambuco, Recife, Bahia or Bahia. Then at the top of Brazil, the Guyanese, so French Guyana, English Guyana, Dutch Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, all has slaves. Then the Maroonic countries. We talk of Maroons and we talk of those who ran away from their masters, entered into the forest, came out with their villages and hamlets, which has now become countries like Peru, Ecuador, Chile, Argentina, Venezuela, Uruguay, Paraguay,
and more. So this one also represents another country, or it's still the same history?
Okay, another country that is from the Guyanas. Then we have those. Yeah, slaves were taken as far as Mexico, to the Nova Scotia region of Canada, to Java and Indonesia, to Sri Lanka, then to Malaysia, then finally to the Seychelles Island of Seychelles Island in the Pacific Ocean. Yes.
Wow. That's very interesting. Okay, now we can go to the three major personalities who helped in shaping independence in Ghana and then the Gold Coast. So Gold Coast before Ghana. All right, so where do we start from? This is George Ekem. This is Dr. James Kwegyir Aggrey. All right. For many of you out there, this has been a popular saying. We do say it in our schools, especially during debates. Our women, you use this to do your debates a lot in the senior high schools. And then the saying goes like, if you educate a man, you're educating a single person. And then when you educate a woman, we are talking about a whole nation. Do you know who said that? Do you know the personality behind that saying? Do you know where he even comes from? Have you bothered to check? Well, I have something to share with you. This is the statue of Dr. James Eman Kwegyir. Now, we can now hear the history. At least we know from this that he was born in 1875 and died in 1927. But let's hear more from the our tour guide. Yeah.
Yeah, so I refer to this man as master of titles. So as you can see below his titles or his name, even in the 1800s, Dr. James Emmanuel Kwegyir Aggrey had Master of Arts, which is MA, Doctor of Divinity, and PhD in philosophy, which shows that he was a very brilliant somebody.
Because to have all these qualifications in the 18s.
Yes.
That was huge.
And this is the personality what you are looking at. Yeah. And below that one, he says, Aggrey of Africa. And you know the reason why. Okay. So we shall start with his education. Born in Anomabo, had his education, the primary from here. Continued to Infantipim. He was one of the earliest students at Infantipim through scholarship. From there, he continued to America, to Livingston College, then later to Columbia University, where he had his titles. Yeah. In fact, in America, because he had the DD, that is a Doctor of Divinity, and he preached for some time and taught in America for some time. Over in America, this man came face to face with the segregation between whites and blacks. And wanting to unite these two races, he used the stats of black and white of the piano to demonstrate that if the black and white stats of the piano could give harmony to music, that means that both black and white could live peacefully among themselves.
So can we say that we have the family house of Kwegyir at Anomabo?
Of course.
You can show me the place.
Oh, I can. Why not? If you want.
I really want to see the house of Dr. Kwegyir. Okay. I really want to see that.
Then later you see, sometimes when he's delivering his sermons and he sees that his fellow black men are downhearted, he will encourage them with words like, only the best is good enough for the black man. And he returned to the Gold Coast to become the first ever black vice principal of any college. That is Prince of Wales, which is now Atimota, where he discovered that females were not allowed to go to school. So he pioneered female education by saying that when you educate a man, you educate a single person. When you educate a woman, you educate the whole nation. A saying that had great impact, not only on the Gold Coast, in the whole Africa, and even in some parts of the United States of America, where black women were not allowed to go to school. They all had the opportunity to go to school through the pioneering role of Dr. James Emmanuel Kwegyir Aggrey. That is why he is nicknamed Aggrey of Africa.
I see. All right, so that was a history of Aggrey of Africa. Now you know why he's an African Aggrey. Okay. Well, if we are done, are we done?
That is why many schools have been named after him.
In Central Region here, we have Aggrey Memorial. Yes. All right. So our next personality will be Nana Amonu the Fourth. Right. Okay. So now let's talk about Nana Amonu the Fourth. Is he the first chief of Anomabo?
No, he's the fourth. Okay. And we will start by saying that. I mean, the development of the Gold Coast could not be achieved without the contribution of the chieftaincy, which played a great role, during that time, especially with Nana Amonu the Fourth. Over here, you see, he was a chief of Anomabo between 1860 to 1879. Which means almost 19 years that he ruled the powerful village of Anomabo in those days for good 19 years. You see, I personally refer to his period as the year when the European countries have totally taken over the Gold Coast. We had almost about 7 of them. Portugal, Dutch, English, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, and France were all here taking the gold and the slaves. There was no any local organization that speaks on behalf of the indigenous people. And so the first ever establishment of such an organization or a rebel group or a political group on the Gold Coast, to speak on behalf of the blacks was the Fante Confederation. And the formation of the Fante Confederation was mooted, the idea for the formation was mooted by Nana Amonu IV. And so it was through Nana Amonu IV that the first ever rebel or a political group on the Gold Coast that mobilized the local people to plan a policy of self-determination from the European influence was the Fante Confederation. And one achievement of the Fante Confederation was that they were able to mobilize almost about 1,000 warriors or fighters to fight on behalf of their brothers in the western region when the Dutch had totally taken over.
Oh, so the Dutch had totally taken over western region?
Of course.
I see. And then Chief Amonu IV organized people to fight. Tell us more about that, because I want to hear the western region bit.
Yes, because we also have forts and forts in the western region. Yeah. Yes, so the whites were also but the Dutch were very powerful in the western region. So in the 1865 to 1868 area, the Dutch were rampaging the western region for slaves. Yeah, and so they needed an organization, or they needed to mobilize the blacks to fight on behalf of their brothers.
But at that point in time, are we going to say at that point central region was okay to have thought about western region?
No, you see, during that time there was no central region, there was no western. No. You see, the formation of the Gold Coast even was on 3 phases. There was the Southern Colony, and Nana Amonu played a major role on behalf of the Southern Colony before the Ashanti Colony was added to the Southern Colony in 1900 after the defeat of Asantua. Then in 1902, after the final work of George Ekem Fergurson, by coming out with the map of Ghana in 1902, the Northern Territories were added to the Gold Coast to make it one Gold Coast. So Nana Amonu was for Southern Colony. So during that time, all the western region through to Accra were all part of the Southern Colony. So we first had the Southern Colony, then the Ashanti Empire, then the Northern Territories. The people
we had the Southern Colony, the Ashanti Empire, and the Northern
Territories. Okay. Yes. So the mobilized people fought on behalf of the Southern Colony against Dutch invasion of the West.
I see. Yeah, he must be a powerful man.
Oh, he was. He was.
But did he win in the Western region?
Oh, of course. At least they were able to confine the Dutch to the fort alone without coming into town. And finally, John Coney, Nana Amunai or something like that, was able to mobilize people to defeat the Dutch when he and his people cornered the Dutch at the beach. When the Dutch were landing from the sea, they attacked them at the beach, and because the Dutch were not prepared, they were able to beat them and took the key of Fort Fredericksburg from them. So later, Nana Amunai and his people were able to overcome the Dutch.
I see. This very interesting history. You know, history is key. If you really want to know where you're going, you need to know where you're coming from. History, you work with every level of, you work with confidence. History, then you may know, be an orikebi, or be tiade an orikebi. But when you know the history. All right, so our last personality is going to be George Ekem Fergurson. who was born in 1864 and then died in 1897. Trust me, in the 18s, a lot were happening on the Fante land. Maybe if you don't know, or probably the history books did not highlight some of these things, you would have to come to Anomabo and then come and learn more. In the 18s, if you're watching me and you're a Ghanaian student and you don't know Ghana's history within the 18s, then you don't know much. You probably would have to come around and learn more. All right, so let's talk about George Ekem Fergurson. Who was George Ekem Fergurson?
Yeah, we refer to George Ekem Fergurson as a junior Jesus because he was only 33 years and he achieved a lot for the Gold Coast. As I told you, he also passed through Fante and to Sierra Leone, after to London School of Mines, where he became the first cartographer of the Gold Coast. When you say a cartographer, that is someone who see, you can't Ghana, them papi, George Ekem Fergurson. He was the first in that trade. And he came to meet Governor Gordon Gaggisberg. And through him, Governor Gordon Gaggisberg launched the first ever 10-year development plan of the Gold Coast. We see a Kolebu teaching hospital, railway linking secondary to the villages, to as far as Eastern region, to Awaso, technical schools, and modern streets for the Gold Coast. Yeah. Finally, his period was climaxed by, after the abolition of the slave trade. So there was the need for European countries to demarcate all their lands. Demarcation of lands in Africa. And the demarcation of the Gold Coast fell on his shoulders. And so he finally came out with the Ghana map.
Oh, he drew the Ghana map?
He finally came out with the borders of the Ghana map. Finally in 18...
So George Ekem Fergurson came up with the borders of the Ghana map?
Came out with the borders of Ghana map. And so the Ghana map is associated with George Ekem Fergurson. After his travels to the north, he was also known as a peace broker. So he brokered the peace between the northern territories, between the English settlers, which was then added to the Gold Coast in 1902. Unfortunately, at the north, he met slave traders there, and in the person of Samori and Babatu. And during that time, slavery has already been abolished. And he had wanted to stop that trade in the north. Confusion broke out between these two parties. So there was war between them. And unfortunately, he lost his life in the northern region. And so apart from coming out with the Ghana map, he is also associated of being the only black to have fought against the slave trade, in which he met his untimely death.
All right, so my brothers in the northern region, a bit of relationship with the Fantes. This is a man who fought with you back then in the 18th, when the lives of Samori and Babatu were taking our brothers into captivity. Yes. This young man, this intelligent man, all the way from Anomabo, came up there by way of trying to draw the borders of Ghana and by way of trying to unite those in the north, where he found out the slave trade was equally going on there. So he fought, and that is why he met his untimely death. Big thank you.
He has a great name even in the north.
I see.
Oh, yes. He has a great name even in the north. Yes, he was finally buried in the north because in those days, the chiefs of the north appreciated his work over there. So they didn't allow his body to be brought to the coast.
Oh, they didn't allow his body to be brought to Anomabo.
So he was buried at Wa in the northern.
I see. This is interesting. This is rich. You see, some of these history topics, you don't find it in our history books. But I don't know why. But Ghana Education Service, how have we done that? That some of these histories, they are not in our books for our students to learn. I don't get it. But so when we are talking about the founders, but these are the real founders of Ghana. But how are we limiting the founders of Ghana to the big six and then all that? Because the struggle for independence has started long ago.
Even Kwame Nkrumah had his training from Dr.
Kwame Nkrumah, Kwegyir, Aggrey, and the likes have taken over long ago. The lives of Nana Amonu, the fifth, and then the fourth, and then George Ekem Fergurson. So why are we making the founders sound like some big sis? This beautiful edifice here.
Okay. We are talking of Fort William. Yeah. Fort William is among the many forts built by the Europeans for the gold and the slaves. Unfortunately, Fort William was purposely for the slave trade. Yeah. This was built purposely. There were others like Elmina Castle, which was built for the gold used by the Portuguese. The Portuguese shipped gold for 130 years. That was from 1482 up to 1612, before the advent of the slave trade. With the advent of the slave trade, other European nations joined the Portuguese. And they were the Dutch, English, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, and France. So in the 1700s, the English needed a place to be proud of as their own headquarters, as Cape Coast Castle was acting at the administrative headquarters of the English, though was not built by the English themselves. Therefore, in the 1700s, the British needed a place to be proud of as their own headquarters. And so they built Fort William, purposely for the slave trade. Built in 1753. It took 8 years to build the fort. I have stated that it was purposely for the slave trade. It was therefore used to buy slaves for 112 years. Fort William alone shipped almost about 280,000 slaves to the Americas and to the Caribbean. The British themselves will refer to the fort as the Buckingham Palace on the coast, because it cost almost about 13,493 English pounds to build the fort. Materials used to build the fort mostly came from the Gold Coast, and that was the rocks, and that is why Ghana has many castles, because we have rocky coasts, as other West African countries have sandy beaches, and so the rocks helped. Then apart from the rocks, there were the cement known as mortar, and mortar consists of sand, shells, palm oil with limestone. So most of the items used to build the fort all came from the Gold Coast. So in the 1800s, when we talk of the slave history, in fact, it was not Anomabo, it was not Elmina, it was not Cape Coast, but it was in Anomabo. For the record, Anomabo supplied almost about 464,000 slaves. Cape Coast supplied 381, and Elmina supplied 255. Yeah.
So Anomabo was actually the highest.
So Anomabo was the highest, which made Anomabo the leading slave supply center on the Gold Coast in the 1800s, with the contribution of William becoming one of the most powerful slave centers on the Gold Coast.
Right, this is just a gist about Fort William and Anomabo and the role it actually played in the transatlantic slave trade. Well, we end it here and then see if we can speak with some of the town folks, some of the youth in Anomabo, and then we say goodbye to this episode. At least I've given you a bit of the history of the people of Anomabo and their connection with the slave trade.